Have you ever felt like you don't fully fit in anywhere? Not at work, not in your family, not in spiritual spaces, not even sometimes within yourself. And I don't mean to chuckle, I'm chuckling at myself because I've been there. For example, I'll be in the store looking at a shelf and someone will walk right in front of me and stop. And I'm like, hello, I'm right here looking at that very item. You may feel like you're always adapting and adjusting your tone and your beliefs or your expectations just enough to belong, but never enough to feel settled in. If that sounds familiar, this episode is for you. This space honors all paths of connection, healing, and family, grounding ourselves in sacred teachings as we are anchored in ancient roots, ready to rise from the soil of our past. I'm Irene Stupski, here to guide you through stories, insights, and spiritual practices that will help you heal and rediscover your true belonging. Welcome back to Angels, Adoption, and Ancestors. My name is Irene Stupski. I am a certified spiritual life coach, and this space is a space for connection and belonging. As we have our beautiful angels who walk beside us with family in all of its forms that we talk about, and with the part of you that has always sensed, I'm different, and I don't know why. If this conversation resonates, pause for a moment and be sure to follow the show. And if someone comes to mind while we're talking today and you're listening, share this episode with them. That's how these beautiful conversations find their way to the people that need them the most. That is one beautiful way to share our light. Let's talk about not fitting in and what it's really about. Not fitting in is often misunderstood. We're told it means we're doing something wrong by ourselves. We tell ourselves that we're too sensitive, that we're too much, or maybe we're not enough. So many women carry this quiet belief that if they could just adjust a little more, belonging would finally click into place. But what if the issue isn't that you don't fit in? What if the issue is that you were never meant to shrink yourself? You weren't born to fit in, to match environments that don't reflect who you're becoming. As I sat with a client the other day, I said to her, what if it isn't that you don't fit in, but that you're standing at the center of the circle and others aren't ready to step in because it would require them to see themselves more clearly? What if not fitting in isn't about your absence, but it's truly about your presence and how it quietly invites others into places they may not be ready to go? Not fitting in isn't always rejection. Sometimes it's recognition without language. This feeling has followed me for most of my life. And as an adoptee, I learned early how to read a room, how to adapt, how to sense what was expected of me. How I knew I didn't look like any of my relatives and wondered if anyone out there actually did look like me. That skill, it kept me safe. It helped me belong outwardly, but inwardly, something always felt unsettled. I didn't quite fit in the story I was creating. I didn't quite resonate with the roles that I played or the masks that I wore. And later, I noticed the same thing showing up in spiritual spaces. Too grounded for some, too intuitive for others, too spiritually driven for many, too weird, too woo-woo, not religious enough for others that are fearful of what I'm doing, always somewhere in between. And for a long time, I thought that meant something was wrong with me until I realized the problem wasn't my inability to belong. It was my belief that belonging required me to be less of myself. Here's the truth that we rarely talk about. Belonging isn't about fitting into existing spaces. It's about being able to remain connected to your soul self, your true self, no matter where you are. When belonging depends on approval, agreement, or performance, that's fragile. And when belonging is internal, rooted in self-trust, self-connection and self-honesty, it becomes steady and means that you are more connected to divine source and your angelic team of light. This is where so many women feel lost. And this is the turning point. They're trying to belong externally without ever being taught how to belong internally. And when you start living from the inside out, some spaces will no longer fit. That's not failure. That's alignment. For me, the truth is I'm different and I love it. And I don't want to be like everyone else. I walk in my light and I live an amazing life. And this is one of the places angels have supported me most deeply. Not by helping me fit in, because, that still arises no matter how strong and courageous you appear to be, but by helping me trust myself when I may not be doing it. Angels don't force belonging. They reinforce safety. They walk with you through the in-between. Those moments when you no longer fit who you were, but haven't fully stepped into who you're becoming. I could say 6, 7 here. I just did. In those moments, guidance doesn't feel like direction. It feels like reassurance, and it reminds you in subtle ways, like a quiet presence saying to you, whispering softly, you don't need to rush this. You're not lost. You're allowed to take up space as you are. Angels don't pull you into belonging. They help you remember that you already belong to yourself first, and true belonging begins within. If not fitting in has been a lifelong theme for you, I want to offer you one question to sit with. Where am I trying to belong at the expense of my own truth? Ooh, that's a powerful one. Notice what comes up. Notice what tightens. Notice what softens. Belonging doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. It asks you to come back home to the truth of who you are. Thank you for being here. If this episode named something that you've carried quietly, let that recognition be enough for you today. You don't need to solve it. You don't need to explain it. You need to pause and breathe. And if this conversation resonated, be sure to follow the show so you don't miss what's coming up next, because we've got a great lineup. And share this episode with someone who has always felt like they lived between two worlds, maybe 3 or 4. Angels, Adoption, and Ancestors grows through connection, not clicks. And I'm grateful for your part of this beautiful sacred circle. And if you want to explore more, come on over to the Divine Angelic Guidance community. It's absolutely free, and it is filled with new things for you to discover, including the beautiful monthly membership Back to Me program. It's time for a sacred pause. And this is where we gather together and support one another in so many amazing ways. So until next time, not fitting in doesn't mean you don't belong. It may mean that you're finally ready to belong to yourself.